A pale dawn spread over Winterfell, the first blush of spring misting the battlements in pearly light. Soft skeins of vapor drifted from the chilly courtyards, wrapping the old stone in whispers of silver, and the air smelled faintly of melting snow and distant pine smoke. High on the eastern wall, Lyanna Stark stood cloaked in gray wool, her dark hair loose upon her shoulders, watching the horizon for the first glint of sun. Below, the godswood murmured with the slow thaw, the black pool shimmering beneath the heart tree's bleeding face. The world felt poised on the edge of something fragile and wondrous, like a newborn foal's first tremulous breath. She drew her cloak tighter and rested one hand on the cold granite, feeling the hidden pulse of Winterfell through the rock. It had been 5 years since her brother Eddard brought her home from the Tower of Joy. 5 years since fevered delirium gave way to waking clarity and the shattering memory of her son's birth. Even now Lyanna's mind returned, unbidden, to that raw night in Dorne, to the scent of blood and crushed blue winter roses, to Rhaegar's voice fading like a distant harp string. She had clawed her way back from death for one reason alone: to protect the child she had carried in secret. Jon died. The name sat warm upon her tongue whenever she whispered it, a quiet pledge in the dark. To the north he was her brother's bastard, a quiet boy with snow shadow eyes and a wolf's weary silence. But within the small chamber beside her own solar, he was everything that remained of her love and her grief and her hope. Ned kept Rhaegar's truths locked behind wordless walls, yet Jon's face spoke them daily. The dark Targaryen hair, the fine-boned grace, the stubborn tilt of a jaw that belonged to neither Lyanna nor any Stark she'd known. In Jon she saw the shimmer of dragon's wings and the austere honor of Winterfell coiled together, a living knot of ice and flame waiting to be tested by the fires of the world. Now, as the sun's rim lifted at last, Lyanna breathed deep and let the memory go. A new day, she told herself. A new spring. She pushed from the parapet and descended the winding steps toward the inner keep, where servants already bustled with pails of water and woven baskets of drying herbs. Robb's terriers barked near the stables, chasing each other in breathy plumes, and Hodor lumbered after them, laughing in his gentle rumble. Lyanna smiled at the familiar rhythm of Winterfell. She loved the keep in quiet hours most of all, when the clamor of courtiers lay muted beneath dawn's hush, and only honest work rang on the stones. She slipped into a side corridor and tapped at a plain oaken door. Inside, the chamber was dim save for a single candle guttering on the bedside table. Jon sat cross-legged upon the furs, still in nightshirt, a leather-bound bestiary open across his lap. His head jerked up at the soft creak of the hinge, curls tumbling over his brow. He blinked once, twice, as if returning from some far country of thought. "Aunt Lyanna," he said, voice still edged with sleep. "I didn't hear the bell. It rang while you dreamed, sweetling." She crossed the rushes and sank beside him, brushing hair from his eyes. Already he was 10, yet small for his age. A wisp of shadow against the dawn, but she felt the gathering force of him beneath the quiet. "You should dress. Your lessons with Maester Luwin." Jon's gaze slid from hers to the window. "I know. Robb's already in the yard." He closed the book gently, marking the page with a ribbon of blue. "Do you think Father will let me train today?" "Your father wishes you to study first." The words held no heat. Ned's caution was a fortress around the boy, and she would not fault him. Yet she saw the ache in Jon's shoulders each time he watched Robb sparring with Sir Roderick Squires. "Finish your letters this morning, and we'll ask again. Perhaps after midday. You could join me in the Godswood for archery." Jon's eyes brightened. He loved the heart tree as she did, finding solace in its crimson leaves and the hush of the quiet well. "Ay," he said softly. Then, with sudden gravity, "Do the gods speak to you, Aunt, when you pray?" Lyanna hesitated, tracing the curve of his cheek. "Sometimes I think I hear their silence more clearly than their words, but when I kneel beneath those branches, I feel watched. Loved, maybe. As a child feels beneath a mother's gaze." He absorbed that, nodding though his brows knotted with questions he dared not voice. She kissed his forehead and stood. "Dress warmly. There's frost yet." She left before he could see the tears welling in her eyes. By midday the bailey steamed with life. Sir Roderick's booming commands rang over clashing steel, while the blacksmith's hammer kept counterbeat from the forges. In the training yard, Rob, broad-shouldered and red-cheeked at 15, traded strikes with Theon Greyjoy. Wooden practice blades pounded shield rims as Lyanna approached, Jon by her side, bow in hand. Arrows bristled in the quiver slung across her back, fletched with gray goose feathers. "Watch their footwork," she murmured. Jon's gaze fixed on his brother's stance, the balanced dip of knees, the forward lean, the quick pivot that turned Theon's downward cut aside. Rob's hair, copper-bright in sun, clung damply to his brow, yet his grin flashed each time he forced Greyjoy to retreat. Lyanna guided Jon's shoulder. In a duel, ground is won by inches. One misplaced foot and all your strength means naught. She crouched and drew a circle in the churned mud. Here. Heart and belly protected. Here. Sword in the center line? Feel it? He nodded, copying the posture. She corrected with patience. A tilt of the hips, a bend of the elbow. Around them, squires paused to watch. Lyanna Stark had not picked up shield or spear since her return, but the North still whispered of the wild girl who rode like thunder and bested men at tourney. Some said the fever left her weak. Others claimed grief tempered her spirit. Yet here she stood, teaching a bastard boy the stance of princes. Sir Roderick Castle himself strode over, gray whiskers bristling, eyes shrewd beneath the drooping brows. "Lady Lyanna," he greeted, dipping his head. "Forgive my interruption. Might I borrow young Jon for the afternoon? Lord Rob tells me he craves a turn with the wooden blade." "Nemsho." Jon's breath caught. Lyanna studied Roderick's kindly face. The old knight had pled often, but Ned's answer never swayed. Today she felt a hush in the yard, an expectant stirring, as if even the weirwoods leaned closer. She smiled slightly. "You'll be gentle with him?" "I'll treat him as I would any son of Stark blood," Roderick answered. Lyanna turned to Jon. "If you wish it." He swallowed. "Yes, Aunt." "Then go." She knelt swiftly, adjusting the tie at his collar. "Remember what we spoke of. Breath governs motion. Do not chase the blade. Command it." She squeezed his hand and watched him follow Roderick into the ring's churned clay. Rob clapped Jon on the shoulder, grinning toothily, while Theon smirked and offered up a spare shield. As the bout began, Lyanna stepped back. Ned appeared near the stair to the covered walk, dark cloak swirling. He folded arms and watched silently. When Jon parried his first blow, clumsy but earnest, Rob cheered, and elsewhere in the yard a single direwolf pup howled, as though sensing something bright awakened beneath the midday sun. That night, beneath Winterfell's massive rafters, the great hall shimmered with torchlight and the scent of oak smoke and venison stew. Minstrels plucked soft chords from lutes, while hounds dozed along the dais. Lyanna sat beside Catelyn, sharing quiet conversation about new weavers come from White Harbor. Near them, Benjen Stark regaled Bran with tales of the Watch. Beyond, Jon perched at the end of the trestle, cheeks flushed from a day of victory and bruises, eyes shining whenever Rob hailed him. Ned raised a horn of ale in toast to Roderick, praising the lad's spirited practice, and there, under that vaulted roof of age-dark beams, Jon Snow heard, for the first time, a hall of men applaud his name. It lit something fierce inside his chest, a secret ember he scarcely understood. Lyanna saw it, and her heart swelled until the ache pressed tears to her lids. She turned away, steadying herself, and caught Ned's gaze. Across crowded benches, his gray eyes met hers with grave tenderness. They shared a silent oath. "We will keep him safe." Later, after the feasting, Lyanna slipped from the warmth of hall to the sharp cold of the godswood. The moon rode half full above the branches, casting pale shards of light across the snow-dusted moss. She knelt at the heart tree, palm pressed to the red bark, and whispered words too old for mortal tongues. She begged the old gods, the new, and any who might listen beyond the veil. Let him be free. Let the truth one day break like gentle dawn, not wildfire. From darkness came footsteps crunching snow. She rose, hand to dagger instinctively, but relaxed as Ned emerged, cloak silvered in moonlight. "You should rest," he said quietly. "I couldn't sleep," she replied. "The weirwood listens." He stood beside her, regard fixed on the carved face. "John did well. Rob says he held Gracepeer for 8 passes. And disarmed Theon twice." Pride curling her lips. "He learns fast." Ned's sigh fogged in the chill. "I worry, Lyanna. The more he proves himself, the more questions will rise. Word spread faster than crows. Then let them talk." Her voice hardened, surprising them both. "Let them see his worth. He need not hide forever. And when Robert visits again, when he looks upon the boy's face and sees his friend's betrayal in it." Lyanna flinched. The specter of the king hovered between them often. Robert Baratheon's love had once been a towering oak. Her departure cleaved it to the stump. He drank now. Hunted boar, bedded whores to blunt the grief. Yet should he meet Jon, should he see Lyanna's ring upon a child with Targaryen eyes, the world could burn. Jon's life rested upon a brittle secret. Ned placed a hand on her shoulder. "We endure as we always have, in silence." Lyanna shook off his touch. "Silence is a blade pressed to the throat, brother. One slip." She drew breath. "But I know. For now we guard him." They remained beneath the heart tree, the wind sighing through crimson leaves. Somewhere beyond the walls, a lone wolf howled, answered by others on the frost fangs, their voices weaving the night like threads through a loom. Lyanna listened, and in the chorus heard a promise older than kings. Winter would come, and with it peril. But the pack would endure, so long as they stood together. 3 years passed beneath that vow, and the north prospered. Spring harvests filled Winterfell's cellars, and the Night's Watch reported quiet on the wall, save for scattered wildling sightings. Robb outgrew his squires, Theon sported a cocky swagger, and Sansa learned her first courtly dances under Septa Mordane's watchful eye. Arya, too wild for silks, preferred sparring with Jon, wooden sticks blurring like twin quills across parchment. Bran climbed towers and dreamed of flight, while Rickon toddled after shaggy maids. Through it all, Lyanna guided Jon. She taught him the harp's gentle song on long winter evenings, recited tales of the first men, and walked him midnight quiet across battlements to name the stars. She fenced with him each dawn until his wrists bled raw blisters he bore without complaint. Ned observed with cautious pride while Catelyn's cool civility thawed inch by inch, warmed by Jon's earnest courtesy and the obvious joy he brought her own children. Even young Rickon took to calling the boy Snow Wolf, giggling as Jon chased him through corridors. Yet beyond these walls, the realm shifted. In King's Landing, whispers spoke of Lannister debts, of Tywin's growing ire, of various little birds fluttering about matters of lineage. Robert's coffers bled coin into tourneys and hunts. Sparrows roamed hungry roads in the south, prophesying doom. In Dragonstone, a red woman preached about shadows and Azor Ahai reborn. The winds smelled of storm. It was in the midst of such unease that a raven arrived, bearing the royal seal. Lyanna found Ned in the solar, parchment open, under his steady gaze. Lines grooved his brow like sword cuts. He looked up only when she touched his arm. "What word?" she asked. "King Robert rides for Winterfell." Ned's voice was heavy. "He means to name me hand." I spread under Lyanna's ribs. "When?" "2 months at most." He exhaled. "I can refuse." "He will not accept refusal twice." She gripped his sleeve, knuckles whitening. "The last time nearly broke your friendship. And now he comes under our roof." Their eyes spoke volumes. Jon too. The boy was nearly 13, taller, surer, his features sharpening into a blade honed by adolescence. Robert would see Rhaegar's ghost walking Winterfell's halls, and recall the woman who spurned him for a dragon prince. "Catelyn must ready the chambers," Ned said bleakly. "We will house them in the eastern tower." Lyanna forced calm. "I will keep Jon close to me. There will be feasts. Hunts. The king's eyes wander. I will manage." She tried to smile. I outran him once, did I not? Ned's mouth flickered at the memory of a girl on a smoky gray mare outracing Robert's stallion at Harrenhal. But the years had turned laughter to dread. He took her hand. We must prepare. Preparations consumed the next weeks. Hedges trimmed, floors scrubbed, 100 barrels of ale rolled into cellars. Old tapestries depicting the she-wolf and crowned stag were unfurled, colors bright as midsummer forest. Servants whispered of queenly gowns and Lannister gold, of princes and princesses. Lyanna oversaw the kitchens, tasting sauces and rejecting any roast, not spiced, just so. Her restless energy masked the tremor in her heart. Jon sensed it. One night, he entered her solar unbidden, eyes flicking to the half-packed trunks along the wall. Are you leaving? She set aside a ledger. No, love. The king's company is large. We reassign rooms. He studied her, gaze too sharp for 13. You fear something. Lyanna weighed honesty. I fear change. The king's court carries intrigue. I would keep my family safe. Pensao. Jon's jaw tightened. I'll protect them. She smiled softly. You have a wolf's courage, but remember, the sharpest sword cannot sever every snare of politics. She rose, crossed to a coffer at the hearth, and withdrew a bundle wrapped in black silk. I meant to give this when you earned your place in the guard, but perhaps the day draws near. She unwrapped a sword, not the blunted practice blade, but a slender bastard edge of castle-forged steel. Jon's breath caught at the subtle ripples along the fuller, the etched direwolf crest upon the guard. It was mine, Lyanna said quietly. The blade I wielded at the tourney at Harrenhal. She offered the hilt. Take it. Let it remind you of honor and of restraint. He accepted, awe shining in his eyes. I will guard it with my life. Guard yourself first. She laid a hand on his cheek. Promise me, Jon, if the king questions your heritage, say nothing. Words are arrows. Once loosed, they cannot return. He nodded, though confusion clouded his brow. Why would he? Because the world is hungry for stories, and men twist them to fill their bellies. Give them no feast at your expense. She drew him into an embrace, feeling the awkward length of his limbs, the thrum of a young heart against hers. Within that circle, she whispered a prayer to nameless gods. Let him live to shape his own fate. The day Robert's procession arrived, banners snapped in the brisk wind. Golden lions, crowned stags, and the red smoking ruby of House Baratheon. Trumpets blared. Hooves thundered across Winter Town's muddy track. Peasants lined the road cheering, though winter's lean harvest made their voices thin. Lyanna watched from the parapet as the royal party approached. Knights in polished steel, lords in fur-lined cloaks, and at the fore, Robert Baratheon astride a great black destrier. He was heavier than memory, beard flecked with gray, belly straining a sable doublet. But the power of him remained. Broad shoulders, booming laugh, the easy grip on a warhammer slung across his saddle. At his side rode Queen Cersei in green velvet, eyes hard as emerald ice. Behind them the royal children. Joffrey sneering proudly astride a palfrey, Myrcella, golden hair streaming, and little Tommen waving delightedly at passing small folk. Jon stood beside Lyanna, hidden by ramparts, his cloak hooded. She felt him stiffen as the king dismounted below. Robert's gaze swept the courtyard, searching, until Ned descended the stone steps. The two men embraced fiercely, the clang of plate and mail echoing. Robert clapped Ned's shoulder and roared greetings, oblivious to courtiers' flinches at his volume. Lyanna's breath stalled when Robert's eyes lifted toward the walls. For a heartbeat, their gazes met across distance. Recognition flared. Shock. Grief. Before Cersei touched his arm and drew his attention away, Lyanna exhaled slowly. Jon whispered, "He saw you." "Yes." She swallowed. "Stay near me." They descended into the yard as the royal baggage carts rattled in. Robert greeted Catelyn, kissed her cheeks, and distributed half-hearted compliments. Then his gaze locked on Lyanna walking forward. Conversation faltered, even guards stilled. Stark bannermen whispered like dry leaves. "My queen," Lyanna said first, inclining her head to Cersei, courtesy as shield. Then she turned to Robert. "Your grace." He stared, mouth slightly agape, eyes swimming with ill-tuned emotion. "Lyanna." The name slipped raw from him, not quite believing. "By all the gods." She bowed. "Winterfell welcomes you." Robert's throat worked. Words tangled. Finally he managed. "I thought you dead." He looked to Ned, accusation flickering. "You said?" "I said she suffered grievously," Ned replied evenly. "We feared, but the maesters worked miracles." The lie, practiced for years, slid smooth. Robert's gaze returned to Lyanna. "Why was I not told?" "The healing was long," Ned answered. "We kept her seclusion for respite from rumor." Robert's shoulders sagged. "Too many ghosts," he muttered bitterly. "But you, alive?" He laughed, though tears glazed his eyes. Cersei's lips thinned. Lyanna forced calm. "We have many stories to share in time. For now you must rest from your travels." Robert blinked, dragged a sleeve across his face, and straightened. Rest. "1. Feast tonight. Ale enough to drown a stag." His booming voice shattered the tension, and servants scurried anew. As the royal family ascended toward their quarters, Lyanna reached for Jon's elbow. But Queen Cersei paused atop the stair, gaze lingering on the hooded boy. "Who is that?" she asked, voice honey over steel. Ned answered smoothly. "My ward, Jon Snow." "Snow?" The Lannister's smile was razor thin. "A bastard in the Stark household?" Joffrey snickered. Jon's cheeks reddened, but he bowed stiffly. Cersei turned away, silks whispering. Robert, oblivious, had already begun extolling the stags he'd slain in the Wolfswood. Lyanna led Jon toward the keep's shadow. "This is only beginning," she murmured. "Remember, breath governs motion." Jon's gray eyes burned with questions, but he nodded, swallowing words he dared not speak. That night the great hall blazed with torches. Long tables groaned under glazed hams, trout in cream, oat bread. Wheels of goat cheese drizzled with honey. Minstrels played, but the music struggled beneath roars of laughter. Robert drank flagon after flagon, reminiscing of wars past, his gaze drifting to Lyanna with drunken yearning. Ned watched warily while Cersei's emerald eyes measured every exchange with serpent patience. Jon sat between Robb and Arya, alert to courtly currents. When Robert bellowed for another jug, servants hurried. When Cersei coolly asked why Winterfell displayed no Lannister banners alongside Baratheon, Catelyn offered polite excuses. Tension tightened in visible wires across the hall. Midway through the feast, Robert slammed his cup and stood. "Ned, a toast." He raised his horn high. "To Lyanna Stark, fairest flower of the north. May she live 100 years and more." The hall cheered, though murmurs eddied. Lyanna inclined her head, heart hammering. Cersei's face iced over. Robert drained the horn, foam spilling his beard. "And to her valiant brothers," he continued, "who shielded her from all harm." His glance at Ned held complicated gratitude and sorrow. "Winterfell stands proud tonight." Lyanna's stomach churned. She felt every eye on her. In that moment she sensed a fuse lit, burning unseen toward hidden powder. Yet she smiled, gracious, and lifted her cup in thanks. Jon watched, shoulders tense. In the days that followed, Robert hunted while Ned and Cersei spoke of politics in cautious half-tones. The Queen's Lannister guards prowled halls like gilded lions. Varys whispering little birds perched in Winterfell's nooks. Lyanna kept Jon within sight, but he craved freedom to ride with Robb and the princes. Reluctantly, she allowed short excursions under the watch of a guard sworn to her. One crisp afternoon, Jon returned early. Cloak torn, lip bloodied. He found Lyanna in the library, poring over old maps of the north. At the sight of him, she rose, alarmed. "What happened?" "Prince Joffrey," Jon muttered. "He mocked me, called me names I needn't repeat." Theon laughed. So did some Lannister men. He clenched fists. I held my tongue until he said mother must be a tavern wench. Then I struck him. Lyanna's heart lurched. "Gods." He drew steel. Jon added, voice trembling with anger. "A real blade, not practice." Robb stepped between us. Guards came. He stared at the floor. I thought of father's words, the man who passes sentence. "But I forgot your counsel." Shame colored his cheeks. I lost breath and chased the blade. Lyanna cupped his face gently. "No, Jon. You defended honor when forced. Yet such provocation is trap. Princes may wound with impunity." "I know." His voice cracked. "But I couldn't." "Hush." She embraced him. "You acted with courage. But next time, give words no purchase. Silence can be the strongest shield, sharper than Valyrian steel." He nodded against her shoulder. Then, "Aunt, who was my mother?" The question landed like a dart. Lyanna froze, fingers slipping into his curls. She felt the world narrow to the hush of the library, the dust-scented shelves, the dim sunbeams crossing moats in golden shafts. "You have asked before," she whispered. "And I promised to answer when time was ripe. Is it not ripe?" His voice carried hurt. "I must know what the prince sneers at." Lyanna swallowed tears. "Your mother was brave," she said at last. "She loved fiercely and defied the chains of her birth. She dreamed of a world kinder than this, where songs spoke truth and crowns forged peace, not war. Men sorrow. Did she love my father?" "Beyond measure." Lyanna's words trembled. "Enough to lay down everything for him." "Then why?" Footsteps in corridor cut him off. Ned strode in, brow thunderous. "Jon, with me." He beckoned sharply. "The king requires your presence." Jon stiffened but obeyed. Lyanna caught Ned's arm as he passed, pleading silently. Ned gave one curt nod. "Trust me." In the solar, Robert lounged by the hearth, meat bone in hand. When Jon entered, his gaze sharpened. Firelight played across the king's face, revealing sadness beneath indulgence. "So," Robert began, voice softer than expected, "a bastard dares strike my heir." Jon stood straight. "He used a blade, your grace." Robert's laugh was rough. Juff's got lion claws, not Stad's heart." "Sit." Jon remained standing. Robert wiped grease from his beard. "You look like your aunt," he mused, studying the boy. "Those eyes. Stark gray. But the rest." He trailed off, frowning. Jon felt pinned like a beetle. Robert's gaze darkened with memory of another boy, Rhaegar, who died on the Trident. Ned stepped forward. "The prince insulted the boy's mother, sire. Jon defended her honor." "Bastards have no honor to defend," muttered Lord Renly from the shadows. But Robert lifted a hand. "Every man deserves his mother's name kept clean," the king said. He regarded Jon anew, something gentler in his eyes. "What is your desire, boy?" Jon hesitated. "To serve House Stark with loyalty, your grace, and to find peace for the realm one day." Robert barked a sad laugh. "Peace. Gods, I'd drink a barrel for peace." He stood, crossing to Jon. The king loomed like an ironwood trunk, but laid a hand on Jon's shoulder. "Keep your fists tight, and your tongue tighter. A storm of swords may yet break over us, and the realm will need calm voices." Jon bowed. Robert turned away, dismissing. Yet, as the boy left, he heard the king murmur to Ned, "He's no common snowflake, that one. Tell his mother she raised a wolf worthy of legend." Lyanna, listening outside, pressed a fist to her mouth and wept silent tears. 2 days later, the royal court departed, taking with them tension like a receding tide, though debris of rumor remained. Lyanna watched the banners vanish into sunrise and felt a strange stillness descend. Ned accepted the office of hand and would leave for King's Landing within a fortnight, taking Sansa and Arya. Robb would command Winterfell. Catelyn would remain to guide him. John would go south to join his Uncle Benjen at the wall, if Robert's suggestion bore fruit, or perhaps travel with Ned as squire. Everything was shifting. Threads of fate untangled and rewove. That evening, Lyanna and John walked the Godswood, pale rose petals drifting from early blooms. She told him stories of Nymeria's 1,000 ships, of Queen Alisanne who won the north with words not fire, of Bale the bard who stole a winter rose. He listened, absorbing lessons hidden in legend. When they reached the heart tree, she knelt beside him. "The world will test you, John. Wind may lash and frost may bite, but remember the stillness beneath ice. That is where your strength lies." He touched the red bark as she did. "Will you come with us? I must guard Winterfell's heart," she said softly. "But my love travels wherever you roam." She pressed a kiss atop his head. "One day you will stand before lords and kings and speak truths that forge peace. Let honor be your voice, but temper it with mercy. Listen before you speak. Unite before you divide." John's eyes glistened. "I will, mother." The word fell between them like a snowflake melting on warm skin. Lyanna's breath caught. She drew him into her arms, embracing not only a son but the dawn of a dream she had carried through blood and flame. A realm healed. A crown earned by justice, not conquest. Above them, the heart tree's face watched, silent and knowing, as moonlight spilled like milk across the pool. In that quiet splendor, mother and son knelt amid falling petals, bound by love stronger than any oath. Time quickened. Ned prepared to ride south with the king. The night before departure, he and Lyanna walked the battlements, torches flickering. "I leave Winterfell in your hands," he said. "In Robb's hands," she corrected. "The boy is strong, but still a boy. He'll look to you, Lyanna. Teach him patience." She nodded. "And John?" Ned glanced away. "He yearns to belong." Robert suggested squiring under Renly, or perhaps Sir Barristan. "Denderwine. That places him at court. Dangerous. Yet it may also shield him. A wolf in lion's den learns stealth." Lyanna inhaled icy air. "When the time comes, Ned, if secrets must be told, let it be from me." He squeezed her shoulder. "May it never come." He turned toward the south, where faint horizon lights marked the king's encampment. "If I fail, you won't." Her voice was iron. "But should storms rise, send word. The north will answer." He smiled thinly. "I pray it won't come to swords." "Pray, but sharpen steel," she replied. They stood a while, side by side, two siblings bound by winter's blood and summer's heartbreak. Wolves howled in distant hills. Somewhere beyond those stars, dragons rustled in forgotten dreams. Dawn dawned. The gates yawned open. Horses stamped, biting bits. Ned hugged each child. When his arms wrapped John, he whispered, "Listen to your aunt. Guard your heart." John nodded, tears unshed. Lyanna embraced Ned longest. "Remember the quiet beneath ice," she said into his ear. He nodded, eyes glinting. Then he mounted, banner unfurled, and the procession clattered out to the King's Road, dust pluming behind like memories unspooling. Winterfell felt hollow in their absence, but life pressed on. Lyanna plunged into Robb's tutelage, guiding him through ledgers, diplomacy, and smallfolk judgments. She sat with Catelyn in solar mornings, weaving alliances through letters to the Manderless and Umbers. She practiced sword with John at dusk, honing his blade work to quicksilver fluency. And each night she knelt at the heart tree, whispering to distant gods for Ned's safety, for Jon's future, for the realm's fragile peace. News traveled slowly south to north. Ned's early letters spoke of courtly labyrinths, Lannister debts, whispers of murdered counselors, Stannis' suspicions over bastards in Flea Bottom. Renly courted alliances, Littlefinger spun webs. Lyanna read each parchment beneath flickering lamplight, dread coiling like worm beneath her ribs. She responded with measured counsel. "Trust Maester Pycelle, not keep your own scribes. Do not ride alone by night." Meanwhile Jon thrived. Under Lyanna's tutelage he surpassed even Robb in archery. loosing shafts that split previous shots. He studied justice from her stories, learned nuance in holding court, and spent evenings with Bran on ramparts, naming stars above the wall. Yet restlessness grew in him, a hunger for purpose beyond Winterfell's walls. When Benjen returned for fresh recruits, Jon pleaded to join the watch. Lyanna listened, heart torn. At last she said, "Not yet. The wall will wait, but your mind must broaden first. Travel south. See courts, meet lords. Learn the game if you wish to change its rules." Jon protested, but she placed her sword in his hands anew. "This blade is for peace, not blind duty. Promise me to wield it wisely." He kissed her hand. "I promise." Thus it was decided. Jon would ride to King's Landing come spring to squire under Sir Barristan Selmy, at Ned's request. Lyanna wrote to her brother, securing arrangement. Robb, left to rule, accepted with solemn pride. Winter's edge eased. Crocus buds breached thawing soil. And on a soft snow morning, Jon Snow rode south with a small retinue, cloak whipping behind. At the gate he turned once. Lyanna stood atop the arch, hair loose in the wind. She raised a hand, farewell, but also a benediction. "Go, my son, and shape the world." He spurred his horse and vanished down the King's Road. Lyanna exhaled. Peace was a crown forged slowly, hammered by choice upon choice. Jon's path lay veiled, yet she felt the steady pull of destiny like a river under ice, guiding him toward unity. She would hold the North's heart steady until he returned. In the Godswood, petals drifted upon still water. The heart tree watched, silent and eternal, as the next chapter of the realm unfolded in quiet footfalls beneath its boughs. And in. The golden road south unfolded beneath hooves and wagon wheels, a serpent's ribbon shimmering through fresh green meadows. Early spring had painted the King's Road in bright colors. Budding birch leaves winked like coins, clusters of crocus speared purple and white through last year's straw, and larks sang with frenzied delight in the warming air. Jon Snow rode at the head of his small escort, the bastard-edged sword that once belonged to Lyanna strapped across his back. Its weight a constant reminder of vows whispered beneath Winterfell's weirwood. Beside him paced Roderick Castle's nephew Jory on a rangy gray courser, wearing the direwolf badge proudly upon his cloak. Behind followed 4 Stark men-at-arms and a covered wagon piled with gifts Ned had sent to curry cautious favor at court. Barrels of northern mead, silver-inlaid harps from White Harbor, and bolts of fine gray wool. Jon's thoughts drifted between excitement and unease. To see King's Landing, seat of dragon kings and conquerors. To squire beneath Sir Barristan Selmy, whose legends filled every hall from Dorne to the Wall. But the city also meant rumors, prying eyes, lies whispered like arrows in the dark. He recalled Lyanna's warning. Words are snares. He must tread it as softly as a dire wolf in deep snow. The escort made good pace. At inn yards they found news. The Riverland spoke of an unseasonably bountiful trout run. In the Reach, Mace Tyrell sponsored a tourney to honor his newborn grandson. Yet talk in smoky corners turned invariably back to King's Landing. Whispers of the Lion Queen's chilly temper, Tywin's looming shadow, debts that hollowed the royal coffers faster than harvest filled them. Some said the hands probing questions about coin and bastards stirred old hornet nests. A few mentioned the king's new hunt for a white stag in the Kingswood, though cynics claimed Robert hunted memories, not game. One dusk a stout septon joined their table at the Stinking Goose, a roadside tavern south of the Twins. He reeked of cheap incense, but his tongue was gold. Trouble brews where crowns rest uneasy. He croaked while sprinkling salt into his beer. The spider weaves thicker nets, aye, and the little finger sharpens his blades of silver smiles. Keep keen eyes, young wolf, and trust no cloak too bright. Jory grunted, unimpressed. Yet Jon listened. The next morning, when the septon had waddled on, the boy rehearsed mental lists of courtiers he must meet. Maester Pycelle, Lord Renly, Sir Boros Blount, Grand Master of the Coin Pettier Baelish. He practiced short bows atop his gelding, a chestnut named Hearthfire, until Jory snorted at the spectacle. Still, Courtesy might prove shield and spear both in that nest of blades. 10 days from Winterfell, they crossed the Neck, that mist-haunted bog, where watchful crannogmen tracked their passage from behind curtains of reeds. Jon longed to pause and learn their secrets, but Jory pressed the march. The King's Road stones sank under marsh water, and angry clouds herded overhead. They found shelter in an abandoned holdfast, its thatch roof half collapsed. Rain drummed the walls all night, and wind carried howls not quite wolf, not quite wind. Jon lay awake, fingers on his sword hilt, wondering if the old gods of fen and pool resented iron-shod intruders. In dreams he stood knee-deep in black water, while weirwood faces gaped from toppled stones, mouths brimming dark with secrets. The storm passed by dawn, leaving the air rinsed clean. On the far bank of the Neck, the land tilted upward, rising toward the rolling fields of the Kingswood's northern marches. Here riders overtook them, 5 in Baratheon livery, antlered helms glinting. Their captain hailed Jory and handed a sealed parchment, summons from Lord Renly for Jon Snow to attend the prince's training yard upon arrival. Renly, it was said, kept a private fellowship of young knights, the Rainbow Guard, whose prowess rivaled the King's Guard in joust and tourney. Jon tucked the parchment inside his jerkin, nerves pricking. Another stage set, another audience. The penultimate night, they reached the lazy sprawl of the Wendwater River. Lanterns glimmered on moored fishing skiffs, and across the broad mouth, Jon glimpsed the painted stretch of the southern sky. King's Landing, distant yet already flickering with 1,000 watchfires like embers along a dragon's back. The scent carried on salt-laden breeze. A heady brew of smoke, spiced wine, rotting fish, humanity packed tighter than arrows in a quiver. He breathed deep. The air tasted of promise and peril in equal measure. At sunrise, the city walls towered before them, pale in morning haze. The Red Keep's towers speared the sky. On Aegon's high hill banners drooped Baratheon stag, Lannister lion, hands-crowned direwolf. Gate guards ushered Jory's party through, after brief inspection of Ned's seal. Inside, streets writhed with life. Peddlers hawking oranges, cut purses slipping through press, septas herding orphan acolytes, sellswards swaggering in dented mail. Jon's senses reeled, yet he kept face calm as taut. The Red Keep received them at mid-morning. Aboard Lannister, Captain escorted Jon to Sir Barristan's solar. Jory went to find quarters among Stark men already posted. Jon's boots echoed along crimson carpet corridors, until he halted before a high door carved with 7 radiating swords, the emblem of the Kingsguard. The door swung open at a nod from the captain, and Jon entered a room walled in tall lancet windows overlooking Blackwater Bay. At a writing desk sat Sir Barristan's Selmy. White cloak pooled like snowfall, silver hair cropped short. He looked up, clear blue eyes weighing Jon with a single glance that felt thorough as a full smith's inspection. He rose, moving with preserved feline grace despite his years, and bowed slightly. Jon Snow of Winterfell. Jon knelt. Sir Barristan. My Lord Father sends regards and gratitude for your patronage. Selmy's lips hinted at a smile. The honor is mine. Lord Eddard's measure is known. Steel true and unwavering. Rise, lad. Jon obeyed. Selmy gestured to a nearby table where 2 wooden swords rested upon a crimson cloth. A test of form, if you please. Within moments, Jon stood squared opposite the living legend. Sunlight framed Barristan like a blade. They circled. Jon recalled Lyanna's teachings. Breath, center, small movements. Selmy's first strike came quick as summer lightning. A diagonal cut into Jon's guard. He met it, wood smacking wood. They traded 13 passes. Jon held, retreated, redirected momentum, finding rhythm. When Selmy feinted low and twisted into a short thrust, Jon stepped aside, pivoted, and tapped the old knight's back lightly with his tip. Selmy lowered his blade, surprise flickering into warm approval. Well read. Many youths chase the sword, as Lady Lyanna warned. You command it. He set his weapon down. Squire training begins at dawn tomorrow. Dawn is earlier than in Winterfell. Do not oversleep. Damn. Jon grinned despite himself. I will not, sir. Good. Now, His Grace hunts in the Kingswood 4 days yet. Lord Eddard needs quick eyes in the city. You will accompany me this afternoon to stand witness in the throne room. Selmy poured water into 2 goblets. There you'll discover how peace is kept, or shattered, by words alone. They drank, and calm settled in Jon's bones. The first gate had opened. Lyanna's first inkling of trouble came with a raven from White Harbor. Wyman Manderley wrote of Lannister ships clustering round Maidenpool, claiming to hunt pirates but taxing every northern merchant vessel that dared pass the gullet. Coin bound for Winterfell's harvest trades sat held in city vaults under protective tariffs. Lyanna frowned over the letter in the solar. Robb and Catelyn close by. A slow siege by purse. She murmured. Catelyn's fingers tightened around the parchment. If gold cannot pass the neck, how long before grain is likewise stopped? Robb paced. We should send riders to Deepwood Mott. Ask Glover's ships to sail north of the Vale. Won't matter, Lyanna said. The Sunset Sea is rough this season, and Lannister galleys prowl everywhere Sir Jaime's pride reaches. She tapped a finger. We answer with parchment first. Robb, draft a stern inquiry to the Crown. Tariffs violate the King's own decrees on free trade among lords paramount. Catelyn eyed her sister-in-law. You intend to shame them at court. Aye. Ned must wield law like sword. We give him the blade. Lyanna's gaze slipped to the window, toward the south. And we pray King's Landing still listens to law. That night she knelt beneath the heart tree and asked old gods for Jon's clarity in a city of half-truths. The wind shushed through red leaves, and for a heartbeat, she thought she heard distant seagulls. A whisper of salt and flame. 2 mornings later, a second raven arrived, this with the crimson wax of the hand. Ned's letter, edges damp from haste, described looming suspicion. Sir Hugh of the Vale dead at Tourney. Poisoned wine. A Lannister spy discovered rifling Baratheon accounts, and rumors that the king planned to ride north again. This time not in friendship. Worst, Ned feared watchers upon Jon. The boy's resemblance to Lyanna draws uneasy eyes, he wrote. Cersei's interest is piqued. Lyanna's fingers tightened until knuckles blanched. Below, Ned advised caution. Keep Robb ready, foster Karstark and Umber loyalty, ensure Winterfell's defenses solid. She burned the candle low, reading each line thrice. Then she summoned Maester Luwin. Send discreet birds to every bannerman. Winter provisions to be tallied. Levies inspected. Tell them it is only wise stewardship. Luwin bowed, concern creasing his brow. Lyanna added, quieter. Have the armorers increase arrow stock. Quietly, when the maester departed, Lyanna paced her solar under torchlight, heart racing. Memories resurfaced. Robert's wild grief, the lightning of the trident, Targaryen children burned in the Red Keep. Fires were easily stoked in men who feared stolen thrones. If Jon's face sparked questions of dragon blood, war might follow. She remembered Rhaegar's voice in the Tower of Joy. Weak yet resolute. He is the song of ice and fire, protect him. She had sworn through fever and utter exhaustion. That oath now pressed heavier than mountain snows. In King's Landing, Jon soon felt the pulse of serpents beneath marble floors. As squire he rose before first light, raked coals, polished armor, fetched hot water for Sir Barristan's morning ablutions. He absorbed lessons, sparring with the Rainbow Guard under Renly's amused supervision, listening as Selmy and Ned debated proper chain of justice in small council, carrying sealed scrolls between Tower of the Hand and Grand Maester's rookery. He learned to copy lordly signatures in case of emergency, to recognize the scented waxes of key houses. Tyrell lavender, Martell myrrh, Lannister rose red musk. Some nights, Jon accompanied Barristan on silent patrol through the Red Keep's torchlit corridors. The elder knight moved like a ghost, greeting guards by name, checking door bolts, stepping softly where shadows pooled. We are fewer than days of Eris, Selmy confided once. The city watch drinks more than Stan's watch. A single torch left unguarded invites wildfire. Court intrigue unfolded before Jon's eyes. At suppers he served wine, listening while Littlefinger flattered Queen Cersei with sly compliments about Lannister beauty. Surpassing even the late Stark Rose, Varys swished among lords, voice soft as down, seedling rumors as he smiled at Jon knowingly. Renly laughed raucously with Loras Tyrell, yet cool calculation glinted behind emerald eyes whenever talk turned to heirs and lineages. Sansa Stark, Jon's sister-in-law if not blood, sat near the queen, dazzled by silks and singers, unaware of sharp claws concealed beneath lace. The day after Ned's first small council quandary over royal debts, Ser Barristan sent Jon on an errand to the Street of Steel. Collect a freshly tempered helm for a certain Captain Bywater. Jon obeyed. In the hot forge district, he marveled at hammer showers and sparks bursting like midsummer fireflies. He lingered too long watching a smith shape intricate links of a chain shirt. A boy his age with sandy hair approached, wiping sweat. "You like the craft?" he asked. Jon nodded. "Your brother's?" The lad snorted. "My own. Gendry's the name." He jerked a thumb at a helm, glowing cherry in the quench trough. "What's your business, Highborn?" Jon hesitated. "I'm in service to Ser Barristan." The smith boy's keen stare missed little. Stark-shaped features, but hair black as ravens. Northman's accent, but not lording airs. "Fair enough." He plunged tongs into water, steam hissing. "Keep your purse tight on this street, Sir Bastard. Gold cloaks look other way for coin." Jon felt warmth crawl his cheeks. Yet he liked Gendry's bluntness. They spoke briefly of swords and shields. Gendry showed him a half-finished warhammer destined for some petty knight eager to ape Robert's weapon. Jon admired its balance. "Could split armor at the seams," he remarked. Gendry grinned, revealing a chipped tooth. "Might split the realm sooner." They parted with nods. Jon carried the helm back, pondering the smith's words. "Split the realm." The phrase echoed. One bleak afternoon, Ser Barristan requested Jon accompany him to the Godswood within the Red Keep for a private walk. The garden, though smaller than Winterfell's, held ancient gnarlwoods imported at Aegon's command. They crossed moss-cushioned flagstones to a trickling brook. Barristan spoke quietly. "Dark tidings swirl. Lord Stark confides little, yet the Queen prowls like cat before storm. I fear snares closing about your family." He paused. "You bear Stark loyalty, but perhaps other blood as well." Jon stiffened. Selmy raised a gauntleted hand. "I ask no confession, but know this. As long as I draw breath, none shall harm you under my watch." "Benderol." Jon swallowed. "I am grateful, sir." Barristan's gaze softened. "Gratitude is wind. Steadfast hearts matter. Stand by honor whatever storms break." They returned, through rustling leaves. That night, Jon dreamt of Winterfell's Godswood. He saw the heart tree crying red sap that bled into southern soil, and a lone direwolf pup baying at 3 dragons descending in flame. Storms brewed. Ned Stark's investigation of royal bastards led him to Armorer Tobho Mott, Gendry's master. Jon learned this when Ned summoned him quietly. In the hand solar, Jon found his father pale with worry. Beside him stood Captain Janos Slynt of the Gold Cloaks. Ned dismissed Slynt and motioned Jon closer. "I must speak with the king upon his return. Until then, keep watch over your sister, and over Selmy. Trust them. Cersei must suspect my search. If I fail, take Sansa and Arya north at first opportunity." His voice trembled only slightly. Jon nodded, throat tight. "Father, let me stand with you." Ned's half-smile was weary. "You stand with me by standing alive. Do as I say." He cupped Jon's cheek briefly, eyes dark with unspoken truths. "One day I will tell you everything. For now, be wary of lions." Robert returned from the hunt 3 days later, carried on a litter, half dead from the goring of a monstrous boar. The castle plunged into frenzy. Cersei locked the king's bedchamber, allowing only Pycelle entry. Rumors claimed she hid Sir Lancel inside to pour illicit wine. Ned, pressed to see Robert, was rebuffed by Lannister guards. As hours ticked, ravens flapped frantic from the rookery. Messages to Tywin, Stannis, Renly. Jon watched the corridor's madness. Ser Barristan remained at the door, face carved from sorrow. On the third watch, Jon brought the old knight a cup of water. Barristan accepted with whispered thanks. In his other hand he clasped a rolled parchment bearing the royal seal. His Grace's final command, he disclosed in hushed tone. Named Lord Stark, protector of the realm, until Joffrey comes of age. He exhaled shakily. Yet the queen forbids him entry. A cloak of law draped over a pit of vipers. Jon's pulse hammered. What can we do? Serve the realm, Barristan said, though doubt quavered beneath. You find Lord Renly. He may rally true men. Jon slipped away amid chaos. In dim servant stare, he collided with Petyr Baelish, who seized his arm. Going somewhere? Snowflake. The mocking whisper chilled him. Best not stray. Walls have hungry ears. I'd hate to see a northern pup lost. Baelish slid a silver piece into Jon's palm and drifted on. Smiling like a fox, Jon thrust the coin into his boot and hurried. He found Renly in a solar draped in green velvet, strapping on a breastplate embossed with golden roses. Sir Loras Tyrell buckled a pauldron. Renly's eyes sparked with urgency. Jon relayed Barristan's message. Renly snorted. Protector? With Lannister blades on every stair? A parchment cannot hold a sword. We must move now. But before plans formed, Ser Barristan arrived with news. The king was dead, bells tolling. Cersei crowned Joffrey in the throne room. She ordered the gold cloaks to seize Lord Stark. Shock flashed across Renly's face, then calculation. Too swift to fight, he muttered. I withdraw to Storm's End. He clapped Jon's shoulder. Pray the gods guard you. He and Loras slipped out with half a dozen Stormlander guards, leaving Jon trembling. The castle convulsed into open peril. Jon dashed toward the throne room, but corridors already filled with gold plate men dragging Stark guards in chains. He changed direction. Seeking Sansa. In Maid's Tower he found her chambers locked, Lannister men on watch. Lady Sansa now remains under Queen's protection, one sneered. Arya, he learned, was missing, vanished after seeing her father arrested. Panic threatened to swallow him. He retreated to the White Sword Tower. There, Ser Barristan stood alone. Helm in hand. They dismissed me, the old knight murmured, eyes wet. 30 years honor cast aside. Jon steadied him. Together they planned. Find Ned in the dungeons, free him, secure sisters, flee by sea. Night cloaked King's Landing. Under cover of darkness, Jon donned a hooded black cloak and crept to the dungeon's rear postern. Gendry waited there. He had overheard gold cloaks bragging of hidden tunnels once used by smugglers. He owed Jon a favor for fair pay on the helm. They descended a narrow stair cut into bedrock, torch sputtering. Air smelled of rot and brine mixed with faint ozone. Sea caverns lay underfoot, lapping unseen. They reached iron-barred cells where moans echoed. At last, torch glow revealed Eddard Stark. Shackled yet unbowed. Jon pressed to bars, tears threatening. Ned looked up, surprise shifting to stern calm. You should not be here. Father, I'll free you. Jon hissed. Gendry worked at locks with a small smith's pick, cursing softly. Ned grasped Jon's wrist. Listen, Cersei means to trade me for peace of her children. I may yet save Sansa if I confess treason. You must carry my truth north. Then... No, Jon whispered. The pick clicked. The lock refused to yield. Footsteps echoed. Jon and Gendry melted into shadow beneath stair. Lord Varys glided past, keys jingling, followed by 2 silent jailers. He unlocked Ned's cell. Jon strained to hear, but words came faint. Talk of mercy, the wall, confession. Varys left after moments. Gellers locked up again. When footsteps faded, Jon emerged. Ned's voice urgent. "Jon, hear me. Seek your aunt. Tell her the game is lost. She must secure the north. Protect Robb. Keep the pack alive." His eyes shone. "And remember, you are," he faltered, glancing at Gendry. "My son, always. Whatever may come." Gendry tugged Jon's sleeve. "We can't linger." But Jon's knees buckled. Tears slipped. He pressed Ned's hand through bars. "I'll return. I promise." They retreated. As they climbed, Jon felt something break. A delicate glass, hope shattering. Yet inside shards, a hard diamond formed. Resolve. Dawn over Winterfell brought direwolf howls. A raven arrived from the Eyrie. Lysa Arryn fled with her son, refusing all crown decrees. Lyanna sensed fissures widening. Next came Maester Luwin bearing a sealed scroll from Jory Castle, escaped with men from an ambush in Flea Bottom. Ned arrested, Jon and sisters missing. Catelyn's cry echoed through corridors. Robb punched a wall, knuckles bleeding. "We march south," he growled. Lyanna grasped his hands. "We're ready, but not rash." She convened a council. Great Jon Umber, Rickard Karstark, Galbart Glover. They debated through candle-spent night. Rumors flowed. Renly gathering at Highgarden. Stannis sailed from Dragonstone. Tywin mustering at Harrenhal. 7 kingdoms peeled apart like ice floes on a thawing lake. Lyanna wrote to every northern lord. "Assemble at Moat Cailin within a moon's turn." She sent riders to White Harbor seeking ships. She dispatched Maester Luwin to the Wall with urgent plea for Benjen to return. Then she armed herself again, polished steel breastplate, gray cloak pinned with a winter rose. Servants paused, staring at the reborn she-wolf stalking halls. But her thoughts stayed with Jon. She knelt before Winterfell's heart tree and whispered, "Guide him." The leaves rustled. A single crimson leaf broke free, fluttering onto her shoulder. She pressed it to lips. A sign? She rose, determined. In King's Landing, chaos surged. Joffrey claimed throne. Cersei puppeteered council. Sansa wept captive, Arya unseen. Jon met with Sir Barristan in a disused sept cloister. The old knight planned exodus. A Lyseni smuggler's cog could sail them north along narrow sea if they reached the river gate by midnight. Jon resolved to find Sansa first. Disguised in plain leathers, he slipped into Queen's Garden Court, where Sansa walked with septa and guards. He signaled from behind lemon trees. Sansa's eyes widened, but fear paralyzed her. Joffrey promised mercy for father. She whispered across hedge, "If I obey." Jon's heart ached. He urged her to flee, but a lion guard approached. Sansa turned away robotic. Jon retreated. Hope thinning. That eve he followed Sir Meryn Trant, overhearing plan for Ned's execution on the steps of Baelor's Sept. The date, 2 days hence. Jon fled to Selmy. Together they drafted a desperate gambit. Barristan would confront the council, demand trial by the High Septon, buy time. Jon would find Arya and escape via the dungeon's Watergate. The next morning Barristan strode into throne room as Cersei presided. Jon, hidden amid pillars, watched. Selmy knelt, offered Robert's dying decree. Cersei called it forgery. Joffrey sneered. When Barristan declared his honor questioned, offering to prove truth in single combat against any Kingsguard, Sir Boros laughed, and 50 Lannister soldiers aimed crossbows. The court gasped. Cersei smiled thinly and dismissed Barristan from service. Jon saw the old knight's shoulders sag, yet his eyes burned with quiet fire. That night, Barristan vanished from his chambers. Rumor said he donned plain mail and slipped into city gloom with 3 loyal retainers. Jon guessed he sought Renly. Left alone, the boy ventured into Flea Bottom, searching shadows for Arya. Thunder rolled. A storm broke, hammering rooftops. Jon ducked beneath ragged awnings. Near the river gate, he stumbled upon a ragged urchin wielding a stick against grown cutpurses. She fought like a dancing master, agile and fierce. Lightning revealed Arya Stark, hair matted, eyes wild. He called her name. She nearly struck him. Recognition dawned. She hurled herself into his arms, shaking. "They killed Sirio," she sobbed. "I ran." Jon hushed her. Together they hurried through driving rain toward a hidden dock where the Lyseni smuggler waited. But at the Bridge of Eyes, gold cloaks barred path, lanterns bobbing. Jon dragged Arya into alley. Hearts pounding. He clutched Lyanna's sword. Escape narrows. Suddenly Gendry appeared, hammer over shoulder. He knocked on a soot-smeared door. An old woman let them into a candlelit tannery. There, Yoren of the Knights watched sprawled on a crate, sharpening a dagger. "Taking fresh lads north," he grunted. "Boy said you'd come." Gendry nodded at Jon. The recruiter explained he'd smuggle Arya disguised as boy among his recruits. Jon could join. Black cloaks raise fewer eyebrows leaving city. North along King's Road easier than sea, now crawling with Lannister patrols. Jon hesitated. He had sworn to protect sisters and return north. He could trust Yoren to deliver Arya, but Sansa remained. Yet staying meant walls closing. Finally he agreed. Deliver Arya north, then warn the bannermen. He scrawled a quick note for Ser Barristan and hid it beneath an old sept statue. Sansa captive. Ned in peril north must rise. They rode out before dawn. Yoren, Gendry, Arya disguised as Aerie, Hot Pie, Lami, and other ragged youths. Jon wore plain cloak, Lyanna's sword wrapped. The city dwindled behind, smoke curling from chimneys like grasping claws. On the King's Road, Jon felt weight lift, brief, brittle freedom. But he knew hunters would follow. He studied every copse, every ridge. Wolves howled some nights, real, not dream. He dreamt of Lyanna standing on Winterfell's battlements, wind snarling her hair, beckoning him home. Days passed. Injured farmers staggered south telling of raiders in riverlands. Gold lions on crimson banners torching villages. Jon's gut twisted. Amid campfire gloom Yoren muttered. War's brewing, black wings carried bad words. Kings dead, wolves gather, lions roar. One dusk, riders caught them near the Crossroads Inn. 5 men in half-Lannister kit, led by Seer Emery Lorch. Yoren tried bluffing. New recruits for the Watch, protected by King's edict. Lorch laughed, demanded they hand over. The wolf whelped with black sword. Jon felt cold clarity descend. He stepped forward, sword in hand, eyes meeting Arya's terrified gaze. Around them recruits murmured. Yoren cursed, drew short sword. Fight erupted. Jon parried a brute's axe, slipping under to hamstring him. Gendry's hammer crushed helm of another. Lorch lunged at Arya. Jon intercepted, blades screeching. Lorch bore greater strength, but Jon remembered Lyanna's lesson. Breath governs motion. He drew Lorch off balance, pivoted, drove point into joint of lion helm. Steel bit flesh. Lorch screamed. Blood spattered wet dust. The remaining foes fled into dusk. Silence fell but for ragged breathing. Yoren spit. You may wear no cloak, boy. But the Watch stands deader. He bound wounds. Jon stared at his bloody sword, mind reeling. Killing felt both distant and immediate, like an echo inside bone. They buried dead under willow pollards. In the night Jon whispered apology to nameless gods, but a voice inside told him, "The snare is sprung. No path remains that keeps your blade clean." News traveled faster than riders. At River Run, they learned Robb marched with 15,000 men. Lords Karstark, Umber, Glover flew direwolf banners. Walder Frey yet wavered at the twins. Lannister host ravaged Riverlands. Edmure Tully held River Run besieged. Jon burned to join brother, but duty to Arya forced northward. Crossing the neck proved perilous. Lannister outriders scoured roads. Yoren led them through bog tracks, known only to Crannogman scouts who emerged like spirits, guiding silent. In ramshackle huts they shared eel stew and tales of the next spiteful gods. One old woman eyed Jon's sword and whispered he bore winter's thorn Tokchadon. On a fog-bound morning they reached Moat Cailin and found the stark host encamped on wind-beaten causeway. Spear forests rustled. Direwolf standards cracked. Jon's heart surged at sight of gray cloaks quivering like storm clouds. Robb welcomed him before great bonfire. The young lord had shed boyhood. Lean, hard eyes, war braids. Shaggy, his direwolf, prowled at heel, growling at unfamiliar scents. Lyanna embraced Jon fiercely. She wore scaled brigandine and sword belt. Arya revealed her identity, launching into breathless tale. Lyanna wept, then composed. That night, War Council convened. Great Jon roared for battle, Karstark for vengeance, Glover for caution. Ravens brought word. Ned Stark sentenced to die on the morrow at Baelor's Sept. Lyanna paled, robbed of breath. Jon felt world tilt. Robb smashed a cup. "We march at once," he declared. Lyanna whispered, "Even 12,000 wolves cannot reach King's Landing in 2 days." Silence cracked. Jon, still muddy from road, spoke softly. "They need father alive to hold North hostage. If they kill him, they free us to wage war without restraint. Cersei plays pieces, not victory." He looked at Lyanna. "What if we trade hostages? Take Jaime Lannister." War Council murmured. Lyanna's eyes sharpened. "A daring snatch, but Riverlords already battle Sir Jaime near River Run. Could we outmaneuver?" Robb stroked his direwolf. "We split. Karstark and Glover hold Moat Cailin. I, Gretchen, and Grey Wind ride quick to River Run, cross Twins, catch Kingslayer in pincer." He pointed at Jon. "You ride with me." Lyanna laid a hand on Jon's arm. "Your father entrusted me with your life." Jon met her gaze. "And I entrust it to the North. I will not hide while father's life balances on blades." She searched his eyes, the ice-fire resolve of both Stark and something else. She nodded, proud and afraid. The march to the Twins was a whirlwind of hooves. Rain-soaked banners, quagmires tugged boots, but the army pressed. Scouts reported Jaime pushing Edmure's defenders hard at River Run. Time thinned like hares before hounds. At crossing, Walder Frey greeted them with slitted grin. Hostages demanded, marriages bargained. Arya to wed a Frey son, Robb to take a Frey daughter, lordships promised. Robb agreed through gritted teeth. Jon watched politics sharper than any spear. Crossing complete, they thundered south, using river mists as cloak. Days blurred into dusk and dawn. Jon rode beside Robb. Swapping memories of Winterfell hearths. Battle loomed ahead. Fear crouched inside Jon but did not dominate. He recalled Lyanna's steady breathing drills, felt each inhale anchor him like root. Near River Run they divided. Roose Bolton held reserve. Robb led vanguard in night assault upon Jaime's camp along Whispering Wood. Jon stalked through silent forest, sword drawn. Owls hooted, then hush. At Robb's signal direwolves sprang. Gray shapes melded into gloom, sowing panic among sentries. The Stark men cut tent ropes, toppling canvas. Chaos erupted. Jon engaged a lion knight along Brook's edge. Sparks shot as blades clashed. He ducked, slashed hamstring, finished quick. Nearby Robb grappled Jaime. The Kingslayer fought like whirlwind, but Shaggy dived, jaws snapping, forcing him off balance. Grey Wind bore him down. Jon helped wrest sword away. Wolfmen bound Jaime in chains of River Run steel. Dawn's pale wash revealed carnage. 1,000 lions dead or fled. Kingslayer captive. Stark host cheered. Jon watched Jaime glare, bloodied, but mocking. "So the bastard wolf tastes glory," Lannister sneered. Jon met Golden gaze, unflinching. "Glory? No. Only the first stone toward peace." They delivered Jaime to River Run's gate. Catelyn, newly arrived, wept with relief. Maester Vyman treated prisoners. Edmure embraced nephew. Ravens flew. Message to King's Landing. Lord Eddard's life for Sir Jaime's. The realm held breath. Jon spent night atop battlements, staring at stars through veil of smoke rising from pyres. He thought of Ned under dungeon gloom, Sansa alone, Barristan wandering, and Lyanna armored in northern frost. He vowed to be the bridge between wolves and dragons within his veins, to unite, not rend. In King's Landing the Raven arrived during council. Cersei read, face blanching. Joffrey scoffed. Why trade Kingslayer for a traitor? But Pycelle trembled, urging compliance. Without Jaime, Tywin might turn host upon crown. Littlefinger hinted at options. Marry Sansa to Joffrey, placate north. Varys pressed hands together, voice silk. Mercy is strength, your grace. Cersei retired to private chamber. There, Cerlin sharpened sword of execution. In courtyard below, scaffold stood. The queen weighed pride against risk. Tywin's wrath eclipsed all. At last she ordered Raven reply. Bring Kingslayer to Harrenhal as token. Ned Stark shall be delivered to wall under guard. Ravens crossed gray sky. At River Run, Lyanna read reply. Relief thawed fear. Though trust remained thin, she pressed parchment to heart. Jon exhaled, feeling weight lighten. Robb vowed to escort Jaime under heavy watch. Lyanna opted to ride to the wall to meet Ned's escort, ensuring no treachery. Jon insisted join. She agreed, though reluctant. They left River Run with 200 picked riders, and Jaime bound in wagon. Along Trident banks they glimpsed weeping villages, ashes drifting like black snow. Jaime mocked them. Witness fruit of wolf rebellion. Lyanna silenced him with glare that could freeze rivers. At Harrenhal's shattered towers, they met Tywin's host. Tension played between armies like drawn bows. Tyrion Lannister, recently freed from Aerie, rode forward under peace banner. Parley under crumbling godswood. Jaime for Ned, at the bones of old stones, in 10 days, neutral ground. Agreement sealed. Jaime escorted south. Lyanna, Jon, and Stark riders spurred north, hearts racing storms. They reached Old Stones first. Ancient ruins stood silent, sepulchres of bygone kings. Jon walked moss-covered seat where Jenny of Old Stones once danced. He felt ghosts stir. On dawn of 10th day, figures approached. Black cloaks bearing sigil of Night's Watch, escorting wagon. Atop sat Ned Stark, gaunt but alive. Jon ran, tears streaking dirt. Ned dismounted, embracing son and sister. Lyanna wept openly. But peace held razor edge. Along Western Ridge, hidden archers loosed shafts. Bolton men, betraying for coin. Chaos erupted. Ned shoved Jon aside as arrow hissed. Men fell. From tree line emerged Roose Bolton himself. Eyes cold. The North needs no South-bent lord, he hissed, raising dagger. Lyanna drew sword, meeting Bolton blade with screech. She fought like winter tempest, driving him back. Jon guarded Ned, parrying attackers. Jaime's absence left Lannister hands free. Hidden Sellswords joined betrayal, hoping to reclaim Kingslayer. Battle raged among ruins of forgotten royalty. Jon's blade flashed. He recalled every lesson, every breath. He felled a sellsword, spun, met another. Lyanna dueled Bolton across cracked sepulchre. Bolton's stiletto nicked her cheek. She countered, slicing his arm, forcing retreat. Sudden horn blast. Great Jon Umber's riders charged from North Slope. Lyanna had sent Raven for insurance. Bolton's men broke, scattered. Bolton fled, gray cloak flapping. But gray wind barreled from undergrowth. Jaws closing on traitor's throat. Roose's scream cut short. Silence settled, broken only by rustle of leaves. Ned leaned on Jon, exhausted. Lyanna wiped blade, blood spattering moss. The pack survived. That night, they lit small fires among ruins and swore new oaths. The North would stand united. But not for vengeance alone. Jon insisted they forge peace with strength. Ned looked at his son, seeing the fire of Rhaegar, the ice of Lyanna, the steadfast honor of Stark. He spoke low. War will ravage unless we change the game. We hold the Kingslayer. But we must build bridges. A council of lords, a summit of houses weary of blood. He placed Lyanna's weathered winter rose brooch in Joan's palm. You will carry our words south once more, under banner of peace. Lyanna nodded. The realm needs a wolf to guide, not devour. Jon gazed into the flames, imagining future paths. Alliances over feasts instead of battlefields. Daggers sheathed by trust, wrought through honest words. The task monumental, but he felt no fear, only purpose. Above, stars wheeled, cold and clear, reflecting in his eyes like shards of fate reforged. Winter's breath rustled through old stones, whispering of harmony yet to be sung. Of a crown forged not of iron or gold, but of honor bound to mercy. And in that hush, Jon Snow accepted weight of destiny, knowing his mother's heartbeat echoed in every silent pause between wars, guiding him toward dawn. A steady dawn wind scattered ashes from the night's small funeral pyres, carrying them across the tumbled stones of old stones, like gray petals on an unseen tide. Crows wheeled overhead, cawing at the unfamiliar feast of slain men below. But Jon hardly noticed. He moved through the wounded camp with deliberate calm, giving orders for sentries, rationing the meager stores left in the baggage, binding a dagger cut along his own bicep, with a strip torn from a Lannister cloak. Gray wind patted at his heel, muzzle still slick with Bolton blood. Beyond a half-fallen wall, Lyanna and Ned spoke beneath the broken arch of an ancient sepulchre, voices too low to reach him. But Jon saw the shape of the exchange in their silhouettes, Ned gripping his sister's wrist, Lyanna pointing south, then laying her free hand across her brother's heart, as if to still an unspoken protest. Finally, both turned toward him, and Jon understood they had reached one mind. A single horn call summoned the surviving captains to the old king's throne, no more than a cracked slab of sandstone ringed by moss. Robb Stark, cloak stitched with fresh rents and soot, slung his direwolf pelt across the backrest, and stood tall, despite exhaustion. Catelyn sat beside him on a damp block, Edmure Tully on her other side. The great Jon hovered like a bear behind them, arms folded, eyes glinting hunger for the next fight. Across a narrow aisle of churned mud, Jaime Lannister knelt under iron fetters, guarded by Dacy Mormont and a pair of tall-heart pikemen. The Kingslayer's smirk remained fixed, despite a swollen cheek and blood-crusted lip. Robb addressed the ring of banners, direwolves, tridents, mermen, black bears, and flayed men shrouded now in gray cloth of mourning. Bolton's treachery is met, he said. Yet the realm cracks further each day. Our cause cannot be vengeance alone, or we become what we hunt. He motioned Jon forward. My brother carries a road we might walk instead. Jon felt every gaze weigh him. North Lords, River Knights, Tully levies, and the golden head of Sir Jaime, watching with unreadable eyes. He cleared his throat only once. Lyanna's hand brushed his shoulder, lending steadiness. We hold the Kingslayer, Jon began, voice low, but carrying. We hold the favor of winter's teeth and river's bones, yet King's Landing bleeds coin and blood both. Small folk starve, while lords tally grievances on slate. My father lives, but as hostage. My sister is pawn at a child king's board. South and east, other claimants rouse swords. If this war spreads, it will drown more than lions and wolves. It will drown every field, from dawn to the wall. I say we give them something none expects. A council, not a conquest. Bring queen in hand, stag, dragon, rose, kraken, spear, sun and trout, beneath one roof. Let each speak grievances. Let the kingdoms choose, not by swords on a field or daggers in privy, but by witness of the gods and the free cities' envoys. Let them elect new order, whether throne remains, is shared or broken. Then, murmurs swelled, some curious, some scornful. The great Jon's growl cut through. Elect a king like a goose at market? The North remembers its own blood. We owe lions steel, not supper talk. Bow. Jon met Umber's fierce glare. Ay, but steel alone leaves us forever sharpening new blades. The North's strength is pack. A pack hunts best when prey is forced into daylight. Let us drag every hidden scheme into open sight. Make Varys speak before Karstark's glare. Make Littlefinger explain debts to Davos Seaworth's plain tongue. When the realm hears truth, sharpened lies lose edge. Catelyn folded arms. And if the lions refuse counsel? If King's Landing raises wildfire pits instead of guest beds? Ents, Ned answered from the edge of the ring, voice hoarse from dungeon damp. Then the realm sees refusal. We stand as petitioners first, not rebels, though our swords ready. If Queen Cersei spurns peace, Tyrells and Martells, wary of lion dominion, may weigh themselves anew. Sir Brynden Blackfish, face half hidden by shadow, tugged his beard. The boy speaks near the line of madness. But there is sense. A peace council may well stall blades long enough for harvests to save small folk. And small folk feed armies. Robb raised a hand. Peace earned by courage, not submission. I say we try. If it fails, his gaze swept those gathered. The North fights none the weaker. One by one, river lords and northern bannermen signified assent, some with curt nods, others with murmured "Aye" that carried reluctant hope. Only the great Jon held silence, then spat, but clapped Jones back hard enough to bruise. "You'd better guard that silver tongue, pup," he rumbled. "Fools kill what they don't understand." Robb faced Jaime next. "Sir Lannister, you ride to King's Landing under heavy escort. There, you will deliver our summons." Mormont prodded the captive to his feet. Jaime turned his golden head toward Jon. "A council of peace," he mocked. But his eyes flickered. "Interest? Scorn?" It vanished beneath a grin. "Very well, young wolf. But should your Northmen's chains chafe, I warn my sister grows unforgiving." Jon answered quietly, "Chains chafe truest on those unused to them." Jaime only laughed as Mormont dragged him toward the wagon. Plans spun rapidly thereafter. Maesters inked 300 missives, identical commands for safe passage to River Run under Stark guarantee, bolstered by Edmure's seal. Messengers chosen, quick riders for Highgarden, Old Town, Sunspear. Ravens for the Vale and Dragonstone. A Lyseni oarsman paid richly for Volantis in case whispers of exiled dragons proved more than rumor. Robb appointed Lord Galbart Glover to reinforce Moat Cailin, while Catelyn departed upriver to treat with Walder Frey and secure the twins for full council travel. The Blackfish rode south along stone roads to coax cracked garrison towns back to neutrality. Ned recovered quickly once northern air filled his lungs. He spent hours with Jon over brittle parchment drafts, rules of guest right, seats in speaking order, witness lists from each great house. In the hush before dawn of departure, Jon found Lyanna alone by Old Stone's overgrown sepulchre of King Christopher IV, tying a pale strip of cloth around the pommel of her own sword. Frost crystals glittered in her hair. The wars of men always circled back to the graves of kings. She said without turning, "Perhaps they crave counsel from the dead." Jon set down a wineskin. "I came to ask you to stay behind. If this council fails, Winterfell must stand." She faced him. Smile thin. "Winterfell stands in Robb's guardianship. My place is at the council, beside you and Ned. Let the realm see Lyanna Stark alive, the false corpse returned. Robert's old dream undone, but proof that stories lie and oaths break. It may soften old hate, may spark new, but truth is forge." Jon bowed his head. "I'm afraid the dragons in my blood will awaken in that forge." Lyanna lifted his chin with 2 fingers. "If dragon fire lives in you, learn to tame it. A dragon can warm frost or burn fields. Choice lies in the rider." She pressed a shard of blue winter rose glass into his palm, petals saved from the Tower of Joy. A reminder of ice beside flame. They embraced long as sunrise painted the sky coral. The march to River Run resembled pilgrimage more than army. Farmers came out along the road bearing loaves and bowls of peas, cheering or weeping as Ned Stark rode by, gaunt, gray, unbowed. They pressed tokens into Jon's hands. river stones painted with children's names, simple pleas for peace. He tied them into his saddlebag until its weight rivaled steel. When the host reached Maidenpool, scouts reported Tyrell banners approaching from the south. Lord Mace, Sir Loras, and Renly's green stags, bearing 500 heavy knights. Tension rippled through ranks until trumpets signaled parley at a meadow of tall buttercups. There, under a stripped, white wood banner pole, signifying truce, Robb and Renly clasped arms. Renly's laughter rang bright. He wore golden antlers and green enamel breastplate, yet lines at his eyes betrayed worry. "You wolves breed bold plans," he said after greetings. "But boldness may best sickness of endless war. Highgarden will attend your council." Mace Tyrell blustered about seating precedents and Gesturite protocols. Jon produced scrolls, their ink barely dry, ensuring Tyrell dignity preserved. Sir Loras, flower-edged surcoat shimmering, guided Jon aside afterward. "Word rides on every wind. You bested Sir Amory, saved a maid, felled traitor Bolton, and speak peace louder than war's drums. Do not let the gardens grow over your sword. Some thorns must trim tyrants." Jon answered that a sword poised but unblooded could yet be sharper than one dulled by slaughter. Loras's laugh was soft. "We shall see." That evening, tents of rose-print silk glowed beside gray stark canvas. Jon dined with Renly and Selmy, newly come from storms and in plain mail. White cloak replaced by green. Over candled venison, Selmy told of meeting with Renly after dismissal. "Oaths bind men to thrones, yet justice binds them to conscience," he said. "When throne forsakes justice, a knight must choose." He saluted Jon's cup. Jon felt humbled. Riverrun's towers welcomed them beneath drifts of apple blossoms. The fortress bustled with carpenters erecting pavilions, one for each house, all facing the river isle sept consecrated to seven and to old gods both. Its rubble repaired hastily after siege. Tully garrison hung lanterns along the ramparts, and small folk gathered on opposite bank to watch banners unfurl. Silver trout, flayed man, black bear, green rose, crowned stag, white sunburst of the vale, freshly raised by a retinue of sergeants claiming Sweet Robin's proxy, and even the three-headed red dragon, flown by a timid messenger from Lys bearing parchment, sealed by wax of a dragon. The seal contained only 7 words. "A council implies a throne still stands." It was signed Aegon. Ned and Robb spent long hours deciding where to seat the unknown envoy, if he arrived. Maester Vyman argued a claimant unproven should sit among minor houses. Edmure worried slighting might provoke conflict with any Selsail fleet backing the dragon. Jon proposed placing an empty chair marked by the parchment alone, letting the envoy claim dignity or humility at will. Catelyn approved. "Give them rope to weave garland or hang themselves." The matter settled. Within a fortnight, lords arrived in cautious trickles. Hoster Hightowers barged from Old Town, bearing scrolls of Septon precedents. Prince Doran's envoy Maester Cabo of Sunspear, cheeks sunken but voice strong. Jon Royce leading 500 bronze-armored knights for the Eyrie. Davos Seaworth steering Black Betha up the Tumblestone under Stannis' banner of Fiery Heart. Boats moored on both banks under constant watch. Yet Jon noted talk among soldiers, barter of lemon cakes for smoked trout, laughter shared around campfires where days earlier steel might have clashed. Hope, he thought, traveled in plain garb. At last, Queen Cersei's column appeared. Red cloaks, white cloaks, and a litter draped in gold. Jaime rode free now, but under parole, flanked by 2 silent sisters of the faith. Joffrey did not come. Instead stood Sir Kevan and Lord Tyrion, the latter perched on a shaggy courier's pony, smirk hidden behind polite bow. Sansa fell from the litter when it halted, rushing to Ned's arms. Cersei descended like sculpted marble, cool gaze sweeping arrangements. "It seems we attend a mummer show." She said to no one, but her words carried. Lyanna stepped forward and bowed exactly as shallow. Shock flickered behind the queen's mask. Lyanna Stark's living presence undone decades of story. "Your Grace?" Lyanna greeted, voice ice. "Winter thanks you for honoring guest right." Cersei inclined her head a fraction, lips drawn tight. The council opened beneath high arches of the restored septa yacht. Benches semicircled a broad stone dais where 7 chairs awaited, each carved in emblem of the great houses. At center stood a plain stool for the maester witness. Above the dais hung no single sigil, only an empty iron hook. Jon sat behind Ned, beside Lyanna. Cross. Cersei lounged beside Tyrion. Farther down, Davos sat at Stannis' right, Renly across from his brother, Mace Tyrell between. Royce's bronze glimmered opposite Hightowers, mother of pearl enamel. The envoy of Dorne, robed in orange, leaned upon Cain. The dragon chair remained empty. Grand Maester Pycelle tottered forward, unfurling brittle parchment, intending perhaps to drown proceedings in precedent. But Selmy stepped first onto dais, white cloak billowing over green tunic. "Lords and ladies," he announced in voice that filled the vault, "by will of assembled houses, I stand as sword sworn to none this day, keeper of order, breaker of false tongues. Speak truth or face my steel." He unsheathed a simple longsword and planted it upright before him. Murmurs shattered into silence. Even Cersei sat straighter. Pycelle spluttered, but Ned rose next. "I, Eddard Stark, once hand, thrice wounded by deceit, propose first motion, all hostages returned unharmed by sunset, to demonstrate good faith. My daughters stand here both. My son Bran rides toward River Run now. I demand the same for any squire kept by lions, roses, or stags." Kevan Lannister stood to object. "Nen's wording too broad." But Tyrion tugged his uncle's sleeve, whispered. Kevan receded, nodding stiffly. First vote passed unanimous. Hostages exchanged by dusk. Robb embraced Rickon, delivered by Kevan's hand. Cersei retrieved Tommen from Umber quarters. The moment, though tense, drew cheers from watching foot soldiers across ramparts. Day 2 raised heavier matters. Debts of crown, famine in reach, burning of river villages. Tyrion presented ledgers. Stannis brandished parchment of smuggler tallies. Doran's envoy offered grain shipments through Blackwater in exchange for justice for Elia Martell's murder. Jaime, face pale, listened while Edmure read testimony from smallfolk widows. Tension ratcheted, but each grievance recorded by Maester Vyman on the witness stool. Selmy's sword gleamed. On the 4th day, truth contested blood. Ned laid out evidence of Joffrey's parentage, citing hair colors, Grand Maesters suppressed gene scrolls, confessions of Lannister guards. Gasps rippled through hall. Cersei rose, voice icy. "You damn children to bastardry by rumor." Then Lyanna stepped forward, unspooling her own tale. Tower of Joy, Rhaegar's crown of winter roses, her survival and Ned's oath. Tears welled in many eyes when she spoke of hiding to shield a newborn from wrath. Even Margaery Tyrell, newly arrived to observe, pressed a hand to mouth. Lyanna concluded, "If bastardy bars a throne, then we are realm of shattered children. Let worth, not rumor, decide." Silence heavy as dawn fog. Then Renly, ever theatrical, clapped slowly. "Well said, my lady." Stannis' jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Tyrion's eyes darted, weighing new pieces on board. Evening discussions spilled into pavilions. Jon spoke privately with Gendry, newly come as witness to Robert's bastards. The Smith boy confessed fear. If named, he might die for blood he never asked. Jon vowed protection. Gendry shrugged. "I trust your word more than golden lions." Later, Jon found Arya sparring with Meryn Trant's replacement, Brienne of Tarth, sworn fresh to Renly. The tallest woman he'd seen, Brienne parried Arya's darting jabs with patient sweeps, offering calm advice between breaths. Watching them, Jon felt small seeds of a different realm sprout. One where sword lessons transcended birth and gender, where courage defined worth. He tucked the image away. Day 5 broke under thunder. A black ship docked upriver, sails stitched with 3-headed dragons. From its gangplank stepped a young man cloaked in dusty crimson, silver hair trimmed short, purple eyes guarded. At his side strode a woman older, severe, with cloak pinned by ruby, said to be Red Priestess of Ashai. The man introduced himself at gate. Aegon, son of Rhaegar and Elia, hidden across the sea. Edmure's guards near panicked, but word sped to Deus. The council convulsed anew. Inside the sept, the dragon claimant bowed first to Prince Doran's envoy, then addressed all. I claim birthright as eldest trueborn of Rhaegar and rightful king. But I come not with army, only truth, to see if realm still holds love for crowns. He unbuckled a sword, laid it at Selmy's feet. If not, burn this throne to nails. I will not take it through blood. Gasps, startled, disbelief. Cersei seethed. Stannis' eyes narrowed. Yet he too respected sacrifice. The Maester witness recorded. Aegon spoke further. Tales of exile. Education under Lord Connington. Vow to restore peace. He ended. I will stand by whichever course this council sets. Monarchy, republic, regency. If common folks will herd. His words carried quiet power. Even hardened captains leaned. Jon felt a peculiar kinship, the mingled ice and fire in his own veins, resonating with this dragon across hall. That night, thunder ceased, but heavy air clung. Jon, Robb, Lyanna. Ned convened in Tully Solar. Choices fanned like blades on table. Support Aegon? Nominate Robb as Northern King separate? Create ruling council of lords? Ned's voice led. If we shatter Iron Throne, we must build something better, or chaos returns. Lyanna studied Jon. Perhaps a bridge. He mused. Between wolf and dragon blood. Two lines once joined may heal rifts. Jon stiffened. You mean my birth? Ned laid a hand on his shoulder. When the time is right, truth must free you. Jon looked at his father's tired eyes, at Lyanna's determined face, at Robb's wary hope. He breathed deep. Let dawn decide. The dawn did, unexpectedly. For at sunrise, word came that Prince Joffrey, left restive at King's Landing, attempted to arrest the High Septon for declaring sacred council. Riot ignited. Wildfire storerooms erupted behind Flea Bottom, sending green fire columns into sky. The bay choked with smoke. Small folk surged to Red Keep gates, screaming for bread and justice. The city tottered on edge of anarchy. The council met in frantic session. Tyrion read Raven. The crown could not guarantee safety of guests. Queen demanded immediate return of Jaime and all hostages. Renly scoffed. Stannis slammed fist. Doran's envoy murmured Dorne would march if wildfire scorched innocent. Tension soared higher than Sept's arches. Jon rose, voice clear. Then we ride to the city, not as army, but as shield. Let the council move to King's Landing, protect small folk, quell fire, prove worth through action, not words. Murmurs divided. Cersei ridiculed notion. Tyrion's eyes lit, perhaps seeing chessboard anew. Davos nodded slowly. Selmy lifted sword again. I will follow the boy. Within hours, decision reached. A vanguard of 500 from each house would ride under truce banners, led by Ned Stark, Ser Barristan, Renly, and Davos. Lyanna insisted join. Robb stayed to guard Riverrun with Edmure. Tyrell, Royce. Jaime remained bound at Riverrun, living pledge for Cersei's honor. Tyrion accompanied, perhaps eager to salvage family. The march south, a strange procession. Banners of warring houses flapping side by side, soldiers exchanging wary nods. Near Maidenpool, they found refugees fleeing flames. Smoke plumes visible even there. Jon distributed bread, earning whispered prayers. Arya rode left flank, eyes hard, practicing lessons whispered by Brienne. 3 leagues from the city, green-tinged smoke veiled horizon. By river crossing, charred boats drifted. Advance outriders reported riot still roiling, gold cloaks overwhelmed. Ned called halt under ruined windmill beside forest edge. Counselors assembled. Plan formed. Davos would steer Black Betha upriver with grain. Renly and Selmy enter via Lion Gate to relieve watch. Ned and Jon head to Sept Baelor Square to secure High Septon, using Lyanna's presence to calm mobs. Night cloaked approach. Suitin air turned moon orange. They rode along charred streets, hooves crunching glass. Small folk knelt, seeing mixed banners. Some sobbed, some jeered, but none attacked. At the sept, fires flickered in alcoves where once candles glowed. Statues blackened, high septon, robes scorched, greeted Ned with tears. The gods heard. John helped carry wounded novices inside. Dawn's first glow caught on soot clouds. Bells tolled, a ragged ring for peace. At Red Keep, Renly's men replaced gold cloaks on battlements, handing out bread. Davos ships unloaded grain. Over 3 days, order restored. Cersei remained in Maegor's holdfast, fuming, but Tyrion mediated messages. The queen would join council if wildfire caches cleared and small folk fed. A fragile thread. On the 4th day, Jon stood on rampart watching sunrise through dissipating smoke. Selmy approached. "The realm sees a shield-bearer, not a conqueror," he said. "Remember this moment, when sword stayed, lives saved." He clasped Jon's shoulder. "What comes now?" Jon answered without hesitation. "We gather the whole council here, in sight of people we serve. We let them witness judgments." He looked toward charred skyline. "Then we decide if thrones still carry meaning." Rivers of refugees poured back as fires died, bearing tales of Stark bread and Tyrell healers. Streets once more hummed with barter. The outriders from River Run confirmed full council departing north. Even Prince Aegon sailed upriver with his priestess guard. 10 days after wildfire, banners of all houses ringed the great square before the gutted sept of Baelor. A wooden platform rose where the Iron Throne, brought in probably by oxen under Tyrion's direction, sat glinting beneath sooty sheets. Symbolic. Stark. The air tingled with possibility. Jon took position beside Ned, Lyanna. Robb newly arrived. Sansa stood between sisters Margaery and Arya, her fear eased by their hands. Across platform, Aegon watched calmly. Stannis grim, Renly smiling like sunrise. Cersei wore mourning black, golden hair braided round crownless brow. Tyrion flanked her, eyes darting. Selmy's voice carried, "Let any who would claim right speak now." Stannis strode forward, list of laws in fist. Renly followed, citing love of people. Aegon knelt, offering sword to realm again. Lyanna surprised all by stepping forward. "I claim no crown," she said, "but I name witness to my brother's honor and my son's birth." Gasps. She laid a hand on Jon's back, urging him ahead. Rather than speak of claim, Jon faced the crowd of small folk thronging steps. "I was named Snow, yet frost does not harden alone. It binds rivers, preserves seed. Fire warms blade to shape iron. The realm is both." He pointed to throne. "This seat forged by dragonfire once united kingdoms, but that fire forged chains too. Now wildfire shows us what blind fire becomes. We must instead forge counsel, wolf, stag, lion, dragon, rose, kraken, spear, sun. Bound, not beneath one but beside each. Nantawa," he proposed. "Each great house hold one vote in Council of 9, with the Faith and the Commons choosing the 9th, meeting yearly to elect Protector, who rules for 7 years only, subject to recall by majority. The Iron Throne to be melted, fashioned into 9 swords. One to each house, edges blunted. Symbol of tempered power. Local laws kept, trade pacts standardized. Guest right enforced by traveling judges chosen from free cities." Silence deepened, broken only by flutter of banners. Then Tyrion Lannister laughed, short and sharp. A bastard boy would unmake 3 centuries' order in a breath. He paused, peering around. Perhaps the boy is wiser than the kings. Murmur became conversation. Conversation rose to debate. By dusk, lords had argued themselves hoarse. Small folk chanted for bread and peace from beyond cordons. Selmy called vote at moonrise. Stannis opposed, Renly abstained, Aegon supported. Tyrells and Dorne voted aye, Royce aye, Edmure aye, Manderlys and the North aye. Lannister divided. Kevin, nay. Tyrion aye. 5 in favor, 2 against, 2 abstain. motion carried by majority. Selmy lifted sword, clanged against throne. So judged. The realm did not transform overnight, but sparks caught. Stannis, refusing electoral system, accepted Dragonstone autonomy under new charter. Renly, placated with seat of first protector, vowed to oversee dismantling of absolute monarchy. Cersei stormed back to Casterly Rock with Joffrey and Tommen, vows of vengeance muffled by realm's fatigue. Aegon sailed for Storm's End to foster alliances helping rebuild burnt fields. Tyrell granaries fed King's Landing until new harvest. Dorne proclaimed Festival of Peace. The Iron Throne stood 10 more days while Mastersmith Tabo Mott, guided by Gendry's powerful hammer, heated its twisted blades in the Dragon Pit forges. At dusk on the 10th, under watch of crowds, Mott, Jon and Gendry struck final blow. The throne sagged, folded like molten crown. From its ruin, they fashioned 9 wide, flattened blades, each etched with sigils of unity, not supremacy. Jon delivered the first to Tyrell envoys. Hightower carried second to Oldtown. Davos sailed third to Dragonstone. The last he kept in King's Landing, to be set above Council Chamber. Edge dulled, point broken, still reminder. Months later, Winterfell's courtyard brimmed with summer banners. Wildflowers speckled ramparts, and children chased wooden direwolves carved by Hodor. Robb oversaw rebuilding of towers. Catelyn taught Sansa new charter precepts. Arya practiced with Brienne, laughter echoing. Ned walked gardens with Cersei's brother Tyrion. Guest for summit on northern port levees, debating trade routes past Hardhome after reports of strange lights in far ice. In Godswood, Lyanna knelt beside Hearttree where sun filtered emerald through leaves. Jon approached wearing simple wool tunic, a rolled map in hand. He told her of small council electing Dorne's Maester Loreno as first high witness, of progress on charter ratification, of ships hauling Reach grain to White Harbor. Lyanna smiled, listening to brook babble. The realm breathes. Jon set map on moss, roads to unite Coldwater, Skagos, and Bear Isle to winter markets, funded jointly by house levies and low-interest crown charters. Ice roads, he said, open to all. She traced lines with fingertip. Your bridge grows. Grey Wind trotted up, nudging Joan's hand. He rubbed Wolf's head. Lyanna asked, "Do dragon dreams stir?" "Some nights," he admitted. "I see wings of light over frost fangs. But they warm, not burn." She eyed horizon where sun dipped. "Perhaps someday you'll fly there." Jon watched red gold rays ripple across wall tops. "When road work ends," he said. "When peace walks without escort." Lyanna rose, pressed winter rose glass shard to his chest. "Then keep forging, each day, each breath." Peace's blade needs whetstone. They started toward Great Hall where evening feast awaited. Trout and almond, mead from Manderley casks, laughter among once foes become wary friends. Behind them, Hearttree's face seemed softer. Crimson sap glistening like gentle tears of relief. In sky above, a star fell westward, streaking silver across dusk. A silent vow that somewhere beyond ice and flame, a song of unity had begun, and for the first time in living memory, the realm listened.